Well, I think the lightning story, I think it really changed my whole way of looking at the world. Of course, at 14, you don't really know how you look at the world yet. You're being formed, and I think 14 is a very crucial moment. I think it's even a moment when the brain starts to change. You're moving away from your childhood into adulthood. And that's when all these big metaphysical questions begin to be asked by you inside. Suddenly, the world looks different. So I think the fact that I was so young and at that turning point in my life is why this story had such a deep impact. There's something monumental about a lightning bolt coming from the sky that doesn't feel like an ordinary death. It has something of the divine about it, something just so transcendently scary about it. It opened up a whole realm of speculation that I've continued to live with ever since. And I think it's deeply implanted in all the work I've done, all the writing I've done, everything I've thought about ever since. It's just pure dumb luck. I mean, I don't believe in destiny. I don't believe that this boy Ralph was destined to die that day. It's just a series of very small contingencies that mount up to put him under that barbed wire at that instant when the lightning struck. And so it's what you might call, or what I call, in any case, the mechanics of reality. There's no meaning to this. It's absolutely meaningless. And yet, this is the way the world works.
Good morning, esteemed brother. What are we getting into here?
Well, you have to sign all these forms before we can do anything.
Name of chief investigator.
Oh, well, no, I'll put that in, that's me.
I confirm that I've read and understood the information sheet.
We're going to measure your EEG.
Pop that on over the top.
And you will have to sit in this little room here.
So, you do beats.
Right.
I do beats.
And play your guitar. First we would have nothing happening, so you just sit there and think. The main thing is to have you improvising.
Yeah.
We want a block, of about 5 to 10 minutes?
Not even more is a good length of time for us.
7.5 minutes.
7.5 minutes, right.
And I guess, and then of course we have to have something where you're not improvising.
Well, this is the question for me,
Is that one done?
since I almost never play non-improvised music, I don't have anything that I really know. that could last very long. Unless I just repeat the same thing over and over again, which is possible.
Well, that would be fine.
That'd be fine, yeah. There's no one missing. A neuron is a specialized kind of cell, and these days we would say its function is to transmit information. And this is done essentially by electricity, which in a sense is a bit like lightning because the neuron builds up a potential. And when this reaches a certain level, it fires, sending a signal to the adjacent neurons, which may or may not fire in response to this. But a key feature of the brain is that these neurons are active all the time. And the fluctuations caused by thinking or doing things or looking at things are rather minor on top of this continuous activity, which some people think is random, but more and more we think probably isn't random.
So minor step as you go in.
You do feel sort of insignificant. Even the tail end of this 1 in 700,000 chance caught me and almost killed me. It killed a friend standing right next to me. And it dawned on me big time when I tried to write this story about 5 or 6 years ago. I've written lots of plays. I wanted to write a story about this. And I'd put off doing it for 20 years because I could not resist the temptation to intentionalize this random, violent act. I think everybody wants to know why it happened. Everybody wants a reason. I think that that's human. And I think like the random electrical negative charges, that your reason is looking for a way to sort of level differences in potential, to bridge the gap, to fill in the holes and connect the dots in the way a spark will jump from one body to another. That looks like a lightning scar. Looks like a lightning burn. I just have this memory of the biggest hill being on my left. I don't know, I just want to try to conform to what I remember. But I don't see anything down there. We saw a Tilbury Drive sign nailed to a tree out there.
I think Joe Dunn got that one.
This was a happy place for us. Now you guys had it, owned the property, and we would come up and do work now and then. But for all of us young folks, this was party.
Oh yeah.
Crazy. It was great, free, wild place.
Yeah, everybody came and parked the car, and you didn't go up to property because they were all drinking and having a good time. So that was fine with us.
Yeah.
Because there's no drinking and driving or stuff like that. So.
I remember it was an awfully sad weekend when we stayed, you know. I think the big thing about it was that, you know, you can't make any sense out of it, you know.
No. It was a terrible shock.
There's 4 trees there. And there's that looks like the campsite, where the tarp was and the fire.
I found these going through John's old papers. That was his account of it, and then he drew some pictures of all of this stuff where it hit, where you guys were all standing.
Mr. Ivans was standing roughly right here, stoking a fire in the oil drum. The sap pipeline was dripping into it. We'd come out from the farm. He woke us up bright and early in the morning and told us to go into the woods because he needed a deadwood crew. I remember just moments before the lightning actually struck us, I remember looking up at the water collecting on the tarp, and we're standing here shoulder to shoulder, sweating and muddy, really packed in tight. Mr. Ivans gave us all beers, and Dino was standing he was standing sort of right here. I could put my hand on his shoulder where he was standing. He was also standing right in the middle of the tarp, the driest point, and directly under the X where the wires converged.
I had gone into town, and I was coming around the bend up by Soames's field there, and they had horses in the field, and all of a sudden I just heard this crack, and it just looked like a ball. Just a round ball just cracked like this, and the horses jumped in front of my car.
And then I ended up, bang, knocked like on my ass, maybe like right over here. I remember I was like about 12 or so feet away on a kind of a mound higher than the other guys a little bit, and looking around, I don't know how long I was out. You know, it could have been 2 seconds, it could have been half a second, it could have been a minute and a half. I don't know, but we're all sort of out. There was like a cloud of like a brown smoke or something hovering in the air where the tarp used to be. And all of my buddies, they were all sort of scattered about on these hills like starfish on a beach. And so all the guys were sort of coming to roughly at the same time. And we're all like wide eyes, and we all had this what the hell happened thing running through us, I could tell. And then Grant, I can't feel my foot, and it's dry, this kind of like water shock on the testicles is sort of the way I remembered it as well. It was this dry moaning.
And then we looked and we saw something. It was Donnie Barlow running up from the field.
Yes.
And he'd had mud in his eyes, he could hardly see, and he said, we've all been hit by lightning and everybody's unconscious.
So I got up shortly thereafter, and Mr. Ivans said, Jim, you better run back after Donnie. And I ran back to the farm as fast as I could. I was scared. I didn't know what to do. So I remember running like hell right through here, and then running a zigzag like a TV cop, because I thought that he was up there and he was going to spot me, and army movies are running through my head.
There was clumps of earth 100 feet up in trees.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah,
I remember that.
Just everywhere. The OPP that came the next day said that if the boys hadn't been up where it hit on the top of the hill, he said they probably would have been disintegrated and you wouldn't have seen a trace.
Now the ambulance came to the site, and just before they arrived, Mr. Ivans, he had been knocked down, his boots were blown open, but Steve and Dino were over there, and he was actually pulling himself along the forest with his hands, like this, to get over to the boys, to check them out. He had the wherewithal to do this, to give them CPR, mouth to mouth, and then he went on to Steve Grant and focused on him. Steve was out cold, but Dino was still down there, and Grant went over to try and give Dino mouth-to-mouth resuscitation, and Dino started this involuntary full-body vomit where he he started vomiting his insides. And Grant described this to me as you could see like internal organ tissue and charred black, and it was all just coming out of him, and he wasn't forcing it out. It was just evacuating itself from him all over the forest floor.
Dina was bringing all this stuff up, and Grant was just wiping it away, and I guess, just in a state of shock, and he knew what to do because Don had taught the boys how to do everything, so.
Well, without that, Steve could have...
Oh, yeah. I think Steve probably would have died without Don, but they figured that Dino's lungs got hit. That's what killed him.
So I'm up at the farm. They bring Dino out of the woods, and I traveled in the ambulance with Grant up to North Bay, which is like an hour-long drive, and Dino was in the center of us, and Grant is here, and I'm sitting across from him. And I looked at Dino as just like as a creature, and he looked really beautiful. And I realized that all the damage to this kid was on the inside, and that most of what was really heard about him had come out onto the forest floor, and that he was dead, dead, dead.
I remember his sister when we went to I guess he was in the church, wasn't he? I remember his sister when the boys all come in and saying, "Why are all you boys alive?" And he's laying there.
Electricity is really just looking to balance itself out. I mean, a lightning bolt comes from an excessively negative charge in the air. A mysterious thing is that the electrical polarity of the ground will change from negative to positive as a storm approaches to almost invite the lightning bolt down to earth. A trivial bit of information, but one that was important to me, was to learn theories that it was a lightning bolt that sort of sparked the first genesis of amino acids and proteins about 4.5 billion years ago. I think that there is sort of a mirror in our consciousness and how we try to make sense of things. I can't accept that it happened for a reason, nor can I really accept that there is no reason. The only way to sort of carry on is to just be humble, I guess, and a little bit in awe of these things that you can't really understand.
This is the picture of Dino the night before, and that's just the way he was.
Yeah.
Just quiet as anything. Grant had it blown up, and but that was the night before he died.
Let's rub all the things before.
Okay.
Let's try this.
What EE does is it measures these very small electrical currents which are generated when neurons are active. A single neuron produces a very, very small amount of electricity, but the brain, of course, contains billions of neurons connected up into complicated circuits that we don't fully understand. Each neuron has roughly 100 synapses, which are what connects to the other neurons. So the other figure that people like to quote is if you work out the number of possible combinations and permutations you can get from such a system, it's greater than the number of particles in the universe. So clearly the human brain is capable of understanding the universe.
Mommy, Houston, go ahead.
I remember having a conversation with a mathematician years ago, and he was talking about the German Blitz of London during World War II. And the precision of the bombs destroying important buildings was so uncanny that British scientists and mathematicians began investigating what might the Germans be doing that could be so extraordinarily beyond the capacities of airplanes and rockets at that time. And they realized that it was just pure chance. It was just theory of randomness. It just fell out that way.
Voilà. À l'origine, je suis venu habiter dans ces massifs assez dénudés afin de pouvoir observer les orages de loin et de près également de loin. Ici sur le plateau, on a moyen quand même de voir la foudre s'abattre sur des clôtures, sur des prairies, sur des rochers ou sur des arbres isolés. Alors donc j'ai choisi de faire le musée ici pour cette raison. Et voyons, on voit des morceaux, des fragments, donc des fragments du sommet de cette aile. On voit la pierre, la sculpture forme des plumes. Et il a été foudroyé plusieurs fois. Je peux montrer avec la main aussi quand même. Donc ici nous sommes près de l'aéroport de Grenoble. C'est un orage qui arrivait très vite et il y avait une succession d'orages comme ça qui se produisaient les uns derrière les autres. Et la foudre se situait très à l'avant du rideau de précipitation. Cet orage donc était générateur de très fortes chutes de foudre dont la durée pouvait atteindre les 2 secondes en temps, ce qui est exceptionnel pour un coup de foudre. Et là, dans cette reconstitution d'un nid de poule, donc, les paysans mettaient des morceaux de fer afin de se protéger, de se garantir du tonnerre et des éclairs. Ils pensaient qu'un morceau de fer placé dans le nid de la poule, à côté des œufs, donc, permettait de se protéger de l'orage. Ces objets viennent d'une maison qui a été foudroyée il y a quelques années en Auvergne, dans le centre de la France, donc. Je parle pas trop vite.
Tu sais, tu pourras expliquer des fois, il se passe des choses bizarres. Moi, j'ai vraiment eu cette femme qui me disait, vous vous rendez compte, toute ma vie a été marquée par la foudre. Comme s'il y avait un destin. Tu sais qu'au musée, on a beaucoup de gens qui, quand ils vivent le foudroiement, nous disent que leur vie sera plus jamais pareille. Ils en gardent une terreur.
Mais tu veux pas le dire toi, alors?
Non,
tes
non.
idées, je préfère que je les exprime.
Non, c'est à toi de le dire. Il faut que tu le dises. Je crois que ça serait important que tu dises bien qu'il y a eu un avant, un après. Là, par exemple, on regarde, on dirait presque une vision de rêve. Mais pour expliquer ce qu'il y a derrière, en fait.
Bon. Depuis quelque temps, j'ai choisi de ne plus montrer mon image parce que j'ai pris conscience que entre la foudre et le sujet photographié, filmé ou l'objet foudroyé que je présente dans ce musée, j'estime que mon image n'a rien à faire entre les deux. Parce que je pense il y a la foudre elle-même et l'objet ah mince, c'est pas ce que j'ai parlé. Donc j'ai choisi de ne pas j'ai choisi de ne pas. Comment c'était au départ? C'est toujours comme ça. Emmerdé.
Mais il vaut mieux que tu ailles doucement. Mais
Ouais.
en expliquant bien que c'est ta fascination qui porte.
Au départ, je me suis intéressé à la foudre très très jeune, je pense vers l'âge de 6 ans, en découvrant une image dans l'encyclopédie, qui est une image noir et blanc qui montrait des éclairs derrière une ligne de tension. Et j'ai bloqué sur cette image, je suis resté longtemps à la contempler comme ça. Et puis plus tard, j'ai eu l'occasion de voir la foudre tomber sur un arbre. J'ai vu l'arbre se faire fendre en deux par la foudre. Et donc tout ça, j'ai eu l'impression d'être un peu touché par quelque chose. Et peu à peu, j'ai voulu comprendre, donc j'ai commencé à me pencher sur le phénomène de la foudre sur le plan physique. Pendant 25 ans, j'ai eu le temps de réaliser énormément de photos, beaucoup de films. Et les phénomènes extraordinaires que je pouvais percevoir étant plus jeune disparaissaient. Je me suis rendu compte que je perdais quelque chose, peut-être mon âme. Et donc un jour j'ai dit, il faut que j'arrête tout ça.
Parce que finalement, il a une connaissance instinctive de l'orage. Je le vois, comme s'il possédait, il avait ces éléments en lui.
C'est comme une expérience de l'univers qui se produit là-dedans. Mais en tout cas, on est au centre de la dualité et on assiste à quelque chose d'absolument époustouflant.
C'est pour ça qu'on imagine bien au début du monde, on va dire à la création du monde, on imagine bien une succession d'orages terrifiants et on conçoit bien que ce soit aux origines de la vie.
Pas de foudre, pas de vie.
Voilà.
Cela dit, tout ça, je le savais depuis longtemps. Je
Voilà.
savais que je perdais mon âme, mais c'est grâce à elle que j'ai changé.
Dano.
Hi, beautiful person. How are you?
Fine, how are you?
Doing good.
You feel good?
Good to see you. Take a deep breath. And for a few moments, two friends sit together. Old friends that are looking at how to make the world a better place by improving the conditions by which we live. The reading is about first being in love, second it being safe, and third being wealthy, which is your health. Okay, let's begin.
Okay.
The person that I became after the lightning is nothing like the person I was before. I grew up tough, a bully, streetwise, meaner than hell. And I joined the Marine Corps. And in the course of the next 5 years, I saw combat in a lot of places. So I got really good at it. I mean, really good at being destructive. And I had been in Nicaragua, looking at what I was going to blow up. So I'm home 3 days. I haven't even unpacked my bag. And I picked the phone up, and I sat down on the edge of the bed, and I put the phone to my ear, and I could hear the thunder off in the distance. Before I could get a word out, bam! The lightning came down the phone line. It hit me in the side of the head. It went down my spine. It welded the nails of the heels of my shoes to the floor, throws me in the air, suspends me in the air, and slams me back down on the bed. And I could see a ball of fire go around the room and then disappear. I'm burning. I'm on fire. I cannot move. And all of a sudden, I'm lifted up out of my body. My vision had expanded. My ability to perceive reality was enhanced when I was dead. And the paramedic said, "He's gone. He's gone." And I can remember the last thing I thought was, gone where? This tunnel begins to form, and I hear these sounds, these chimes. And as I went down to this tunnel, I came into this place of this bright, brilliant light. And as I was there, this being appeared. And this being was radiant and beautiful. That being was really myself. I had come to meet me and to reunite with the part of me that had lived in the human experience. And I could see what would be like a cathedral, you know. This building was built of plexiglass bricks emanating light, each one individual, but each one a part of the overall light. As I moved into this building, there were these 12 beings in front of me. They were magnificent in color. And they were colors that I have never seen on this earth. What emanated from these beings was courage and dignity and heroism and respect and might and divinity. You could sense it in them. It was amazing to me that all of a sudden I knew everything. Right there, I knew what life was all about. I had very few things that were to celebrate. I had to feel all the pain and anguish, suffering, humiliation, death that I had created. I had to feel the ripple effect of the results of my action. And then this 13th being said, nothing is carved in stone. Free will is the opportunity that you have, and these are the possibilities. In the next moment, I'm floating in a hallway in a hospital, and I begin to feel myself thickening. Hi, ladies, how are you doing today? I could feel emotions completely different. Other people's emotions, a sense of grief and loss. How you doing today? As people were grieving, I'm pulled back in the body. And here begins the rest of the story. Years of struggle. Dead for 28 minutes, completely paralyzed for 6 days, partially paralyzed for 7 months, 2 years to learn to walk and feed myself. In more pain, more despair, more hopelessness, and more humiliation than I would ever ask any 25-year-old to have to endure. But nonetheless, I had to get up.
When we first went over there, didn't none of them white folks want us, okay? And by the end of the war, they were all in love with us.
Lightning and change go hand in hand. And in a single moment, I was changed.
Yeah.
The whole key is listening.
Sure, okay.
And as if it, like he's talking.
Okay.
Boys, what's that? I built one of the largest end-of-life care volunteer programs for dying veterans in the history of the United States. I have more than 6,000 people trained in my techniques of knowing how to listen on this side and how to help across that veil. This started at 5 o'clock this morning. I'm not afraid of death. Get up here closer. And there is one. And that's all I want people to see in who I am, based on being struck by lightning. Everybody has the right to die. And everybody has a right to know exactly the process and why.
How did you get into doing this?
I died.
Okay.
Yo conozco a este señor que tenía hecho changón el ayer. Llegó un día y le da una mano de golpe a su mujer. Este señor, luego de la mano de golpe que le da a la mujer, sale a una barra, se emborracha y luego sale a caminar.
Dame el Esteban acá.
De momento se forma una tormenta, se nubla el cielo y empiezan a caer descargas eléctricas. Y una de estas descargas eléctricas, el rayo, dejó a ese señor como un carbón. Lo eléctrico lo hizo un carbón. Shango era un rey que vivía en la tierra de Oyo, en África, en Nigeria, en la tierra de Oyo. Oya se enamora de Shango. Y le dice, yo te voy a dar dos cosas que son mías. Yo te voy a dar a ti, trueno y el rayo. Shango es el rey de nuestra religión y Shango es el dueño del tambor. Él viene dando unos gritos y cuando llega a la tierra da 6 vueltas de carnera.
Cuando baja un rayo a la tierra, dice Shango está molesto. Es lo fundamental que pensamos, Shango está molesto. Y entonces como religiosos pensamos qué podemos ofrendarle a Shango para que deje la molestia. Y entonces ahí es donde surgen los atributos, las ofrendas.
Sarayen llevo cuno, Sarayen llevo cuno. Sarayen llevo cuno, Sarayen llevaron lo. Sarayen llevo cuno, Sarayen llevo cuno. Sarayen llevo cuno, Sarayen llevo cuno. Sarayen llevo cuno, Sarayen.
Es 4 de diciembre y se está celebrando el Día de Shango, que en el sincretismo católico es Santa Bárbara bendita.
Que se dice Santa Bárbara en la religión católica y Shango en la otra religión.
¿Y a ustedes no les molesta la asociación que se hace con la religión africana con la religión católica?
Eso no tiene nada que ver, cada cual tiene su creencia.
¿Y ustedes como católicos no les molesta?
No.
Yo pienso que todas las personas creen en algo. Mi verdad no es absoluta y nunca voy a pensar que tengo la verdad absoluta. Yo no la tengo. Shango significa para nosotros del rayo y del trueno, pero significa rey, un rey con corona. Y esta verdad se abre paso.
Right, you can stop relaxing. 7.5 minutes or whatever you like.
Right then.
Okay.
The kind of improvising that I do, I think where chance comes in is precisely in the openness to the moment. I like the idea that the accident is always the beginning of something.
We're getting a lot more of this, actually.
Oh, that's interesting.
I think there's no doubt that his brain is doing something different between improvising and playing from memory. The question is whether we can measure it.
We're always running into these stories. You're at a dinner and 3 people have the same birthday, or you think of someone you haven't thought about in 15 years, and 15 minutes later the telephone rings and there's the person calling you. These things happen, and they happen to all of us. But I don't want to create a religion out of this. That's magical thinking, which is a way of, I think, avoiding the truth and making a fairy tale out of the world, whereas I'm going to look at the world head on.
What in the world?
That's where it hit.
Oh my God! Oh my God!
So that's why I write. And that's why I put this piece in a little sequence of stories called Why Write? And I look at those short texts, which are all true, based on real events, as a kind of ars poetica for me, but without theory, just telling it through stories.
In this lab, we all believe that the brain is mainly interested in accidents. So it predicts what's going to happen, and it's particularly interested when these predictions are wrong, because that's the way it learns about the world. In that sense, improvisation is using the brain to the full.
Your brain is not only producing the thing that you're doing, but it's actually not being able to predict what it is that's about to happen.
Which is very clever of it. Very good.
That was different.
Está tranquila el día, el tiempo, pero yo me imagino, yo siento que así estuviera lloviendo y estuviera como esa noche, que no la voy a olvidar jamás, volvería a subir. No tengo ningún temor. Cada que subo y llego allá a la cima donde pasó lo que pasó, recuerdo y me duele mucho, pero sí siento que ese recuerdo y el vivirlo me ayuda a ver la realidad, que fue una realidad, que no es un sueño.
Al momento que me dijo mi esposo, cayó un rayo. Y para mí que no hay ningún sobreviviente de todos los que están allá. Entonces yo sabía que allá estaban mis dos niños. Y yo nada más lo que pensé, pensé y dije, tú sabes, Señor. Tú sabes, Señor, lo que tú dispongas, yo lo acepto. Y me conforta saber que estando tantas personas juntas, él nada más sacó uno de aquí, dos de allá y otros dos de más allá. Entonces, digo, solo él sabe y yo no tengo que reprochar nada.
Ahorita subimos.
¿Todavía no se irá la luz, eh?
No. ¿Sabe?
Está ahorita.
No se van a estar. Sí, vamos y regresamos.
Estaba con mi hermana y mi tía y mi prima. Era la primera vez que iban a velar a Santa Cruz acá arriba. Pues esta cicatriz, tengo varias en el cuerpo y pues yo creo que con lo mismo de la lumbre, del rayo, no sé, me hizo esto, me quemó. Y pues esto es lo que tengo de ese día, quemaduras.
Este año la diferencia es de que se realizó una capilla debido a lo que pasó hace un año, en 23 de abril del año 2006. Y nos vamos a quedar las personas, los papás de los angelitos y a velar la Santa Cruz toda la noche.
Yo no le dije, ese día que se fue, yo no le dije nada. Pero mi esposo sí le dijo, José, puede llover, José. Sí, la mayor parte. Y él le dijo, ¿qué le contestó? Que le dijo, pues más bonito.
Yo en mi casa con mi niña, yo iba a subir. Dije, no, sí voy a ir a velar la Santa Cruz, ¿verdad? Pero yo sola, o sea, yo nunca pensé en llevar a la niña. Y mi sobrina se estaba peinando y luego le dijo, Daisy, ¿no vas a ir al cerro? Y mi niña le dijo, no, es que mi mamá no me quiere llevar. Le dijo, ya. Y se metió la niña al cuarto y me dice, llévame, dice, ¿cómo Yuli sí va a ir? Le digo, sí, pero es que ella está más grande. Le digo, ella sí puede caminar. Y luego dice, si no me llevas, se acostó al lado de mi mamá en la cama y le dice, si no me llevas, la crucita te va a castigar y te va a pasar algo malo. Y luego le dije, mi mamá la regañó y le dijo, mi mamá, ¿para qué le dices eso a tu mamá? Dice, no le andes diciendo esas cosas. Y le dije, ¿por qué dices eso, mija? Y luego dice, y me lo volví a repetir, dijo, ya con voz más fuerte, dijo, es que sí es cierto, dice, si ella no me lleva, dice, la crucita la va a castigar y le va a pasar algo malo. Así me dijo, o sea, me lo repitió 2 veces. Y luego le dije, levántate, le dije, sí te voy a llevar.
Pues el clima, pues, estaba como ahorita, ¿verdad? O sea, sí, nublado, nada más así, no había señas de que lloviera así mucho. Digo que iba a llover o a tronar, pues, así. Y pues la verdad, acá arriba no había refugios, estaba totalmente la cruz sola, que entienda la base y la crucita y...
Entonces, no, pues nos sentamos todos alrededor de la cruz, los niños, todos, como pudimos nos acomodamos, llegamos y yo cuando oí ese trueno nada más uno, y me agaché con aquel presentimiento, yo creo, aquel miedo que yo tenía. Volteé y pues yo sí le pedí a la cruz, ¿verdad? Así con tanta fe yo le dije, tú eres la única que nos va a cuidar. Santa María, Madre de Dios. Cayó el otro rayo, el otro relámpago y fue el que nos tumbó. Duré inconsciente, no tenemos bien exactamente el tiempo, pero yo me imagino que quedamos inconscientes como de 15 a 20 minutos. Y una señora desesperada gritaba mucho, bastante. Ella fue la que nos hizo regresar.
Santa María, Madre de Dios, ruega, Señora, por nosotros los pecadores, ahora y en la hora de nuestra muerte. Amén.
Fue cuando entró más la desesperación en mí, ¿verdad? Y le gritaba a mi niña.
Dios te salve María, llena eres de gracia, el Señor es contigo. Bendita eres entre todas las mujeres y bendito es el fruto de tu vientre.
Siente que se está quemando, no sé. Y entre eso te vas quedando sin fuerza. Y yo, no sé, pues como me sentía que me dolía todo así, me ardía, me estaba quemando completo. Y fue entonces cuando yo vi una luz así como blanca. Y fue cuando ya perdí el conocimiento. Y de ahí yo ya pues, no supe de los demás. Estaba desesperada. Yo al ver esa luz, no sé, sentía como que solamente era pues, mi alma, le podría decir. Y iba con mis manos extendidas, iba como hacia arriba, como por una cueva, no sé, llena de lumbre. Y al momento de dejar de hacer fuerza, regresé en sí. Estaba hablando a mi hermana y no despertaba y pues empezamos a rezar, a gritar, que nos ayudaran, que subieran. Pues todavía estaba relampagueando, estaba tronando, lloviendo. Y mi tía estaba también con su hija, hablándole y dándole también respiración. Y ni una de ellas despertaba.
Y le gritaba y le puse alcohol, yo llevaba alcohol, le di agua, le di Gatorade. No, se lo tomaba por la boca y lo devolvía por la nariz. Y pues ya pues vi a mi sobrina y estaba igual, estaba junto a ella y pues también pues ellos ya no tenían vida. Ya ellos ya no, que yo hubiera llegado y la hubiera encontrado, que hubiera un respiro, un suspiro o algo, que ella se quejara, que algo, no.
Siempre he sido muy devotos a las imágenes. Estar allá, velando la Santa Cruz, así como ellos tomaron la iniciativa, ¿verdad? Se puede decir que, como que indigna de tener un ángel como el Señor lo escogió, ¿verdad? Y entonces yo digo, Dios nuestro Señor nunca se equivoca. Es triste, pero fue muy bonito.
Que uno sabe cómo va a morir. Y pues son cosas que pasan, ¿verdad? Nosotros no podemos decir que no queremos o sí. Y pues sí.
Me cuenta mi hermano que el señor cura fue a su casa de él y todos los pidió ahí a los papás de los niños y fue donde les dio como una pequeña explicación. Así es la vida, ¿verdad? Y que pues que no estuviéramos tristes, ¿verdad? Que eran puros ángeles y que pues ellos iban a velar por nosotros. Y hay personas que sí nos han dicho que fue un acto de Dios, ¿verdad? Que ya venía del cielo así. Pues hay momentos en que sí lo creo, ¿verdad? Así, y hay momentos en que no. La verdad, no sé.
You want me to think about a lightning storm? Okay, I'll be right back.
I was 14. For the third year in a row, my parents had sent me to a summer camp in New York State. One afternoon, our counselor announced that we were going for a hike in the woods. He had been seized by an inspiration and wasn't going to let anyone talk him out of it. And so, after the rest period that followed lunch, the whole gang of 16 or 18 boys, along with 2 or 3 counselors, set off into the woods. Everyone was in a fairly buoyant mood, I remember, and half an hour or so into the trek, most people agreed that the outing had been a good idea. No one had a compass, of course, or the slightest clue as to where we were going, but we were all enjoying ourselves, and if we happened to get lost, what difference would that make? Sooner or later, we'd find our way back. Then it began to rain. At first, it was barely noticeable, a few light drops falling between the leaves and branches, nothing to worry about. We walked on, unwilling to let a little water spoil our fun, but a couple of minutes later, it started coming down in earnest. Everyone got soaked, and the counselors decided we should turn around and head back. The only problem was that no one knew where the camp was. The woods were thick, dense with clusters of trees and thorn-studded bushes, and we had woven our way this way and that, abruptly shifting directions in order to move on. To add to the confusion, it was becoming hard to see. The woods were dark to begin with, but with the rain falling and the sky turning black, it felt more like night there. Then the thunder started, and after the thunder, the lightning started. The storm was directly on top of us, and it turned out to be the summer storm to end all summer storms. I have never seen weather like that, before or since. The rain poured down on us so hard that it actually hurt. Each time the thunder exploded, you could feel the noise vibrating inside your body. Immediately after that, the lightning would come, dancing around us like spears. It was as if weapons had materialized out of thin air. A sudden flash that turned everything a bright, ghostly white. Trees were struck, and the branches would begin to smolder. Then it would go dark again for a moment. There would be another crash in the sky, and the lightning would return in a different spot. The lightning was what scared us, of course. It would have been stupid not to be scared, and in our panic, we tried to run away from it. But the storm was too big, and everywhere we went, we were met by more lightning. It was a helter-skelter stampede, a headlong rush in circles. Then, suddenly, someone spotted a clearing in the woods. A brief dispute broke out whether it was safer to go into the open or continue to stand under the trees. The voice arguing for the open won, and we all ran in the direction of the clearing. It was a small meadow, most likely a pasture that belonged to a local farm, and to get to it we had to crawl under a barbed wire fence. One by one, we got down on our bellies and inched our way through. I was in the middle of the line, directly behind Ralph. Just as he went under the barbed wire, there was another flash of lightning. I was 2 or 3 feet away, but because of the rain pounding against my eyelids, I had trouble making out what happened. All I knew was that Ralph had stopped moving. I figured that he had been stunned, so I crawled past him under the fence. Once I was on the other side, I took hold of his arm and dragged him through. I don't know how long we stayed in that field. An hour, I would guess. And the whole time we were there, the rain and thunder and lightning continued to crash down upon us. It was a storm ripped from the pages of the Bible, and it went on and on and on, as if it would never end. 2 or 3 boys were hit by something, perhaps by lightning, perhaps by the shock of lightning as it struck the ground near them, and the meadow began to fill with their moans. Other boys wept and prayed. Still others, fear in their voices, tried to give sensible advice. Get rid of everything metal, they said. Metal attracts the lightning. We all took off our belts and threw them away from us. I don't remember saying anything. I don't remember crying. Another boy and I kept ourselves busy trying to take care of Ralph. He was still unconscious. We rubbed his hands and arms. We held down his tongue so he wouldn't swallow it. We told him to hang in there. After a while, his skin began to take on a bluish tinge. His body seemed colder to my touch, but in spite of the mounting evidence, it never once occurred to me that he wasn't going to come around. I was only 14 years old after all, and what did I know? I had never seen a dead person before. It was the barbed wire that did it, I suppose. The other boys hit by lightning went numb, felt pain in their limbs for an hour or so, and then recovered. But Ralph had been under the fence when the lightning struck, and he had been electrocuted on the spot. Later on, when they told me he was dead, I learned that there was an 8-inch burn across his back. I remember trying to absorb this news and telling myself that life would never feel the same to me again. Strangely enough, I didn't think about how I had been right next to him when it happened. I didn't think 1 or 2 seconds later, and it would have been me. What I thought about was holding his tongue and looking down at his teeth. His mouth had been set in a slight grimace, and with his lips partly open, I had spent an hour looking down at the tips of his teeth. 34 years later, I still remember them, and his half-closed, half-open eyes. I remember those too.